Warning. This show contains adult political themes and language. Liberals and little children should cover their ears.
Welcome to Liberty Never Sleeps, where negativity never sounded so good. Now here's your host, Thomas Purcell.
Let's talk about Taliban a little bit. We'll be right back. So we lost the war in Afghanistan. It's nothing to cheer about. It's nothing to be glad about. I'm just glad our troops are out. I don't know what's going to happen with those Americans. I pretty much have a pretty good idea, and it's nothing good. Well, what are the Taliban? Taliban are extremists. They're Afghan extremists. They're Islamic fundamentalists. And I'm tired of hearing this argument that there's ISIS-K, there's Al-Qaeda, there's Mickey Mouse fuck Taliban Z. I don't want to hear anymore about it. They're all enemies, and they're all in cahoots. They all have different agendas. The Haqqani network, Haqqani network, whatever it is. I don't even pay attention. There's so many different tribal factions. This is a tribal government. It is not going to be a government that resembles in any way, in any shape, what you see in the West, what they call a Jeffersonian democracy. Their idea of justice is hanging people from a rope at the end of a Black Hawk helicopter. That's their idea of justice. It was I was reading all kinds of horrible stories that they're just not telling you in the mass media. There was a folk singer, an Afghan folk singer. They got a hold of him. No music, and they executed him. No music. Their view of individual liberties, individual freedoms, is non-existent. They believe in an extreme vision of religious doctrine that, by some accounts, is even more extreme than the Iranian extremism. But make no mistake, they will conduct terroristic operations as soon as they are able to. The first vulnerable people will be, of course, anyone inside the country. They will terrorize their own citizens as well as foreigners living in Afghanistan to no end. Once that's done, once that their grasp on Afghanistan is a stranglehold, a boot heel on the face of every Afghan, then they will turn their vision outward. They will try to unify the Middle East. They will try to bring other nations like Libya under their thumb. You will see mass terrorist activities in many nations in the Middle East in the coming years. Probably is similar to what we saw with the Arab Spring. You'll see uprisings in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, all of these places. You will see new fractious groups pop up, ISIS A, B, C, D, and Delta, and Lambda, whatever else it is. They'll be called all kinds of Mickey Mouse things, and the United States will largely ignore it. Because it's politically dynamite. Because if they start talking about it and recognizing it as a real threat, then you'll understand the gravity of what Biden did or didn't do in Afghanistan. Things will be traced back to the weapons that we left them. Those weapons will turn up in other nations, in other contexts, in other revolutions. You know that they will get many of those high technology weapons to Russia and China. You will see compromised or bastardized versions of them in the Chinese and Russian military very shortly. They will clone the technology. They have access to American databases that were left on those militarized machines. Will Americans get out? I would imagine some would. that they will not be on the radar of the Taliban right away. The best opportunity that they have for getting out in the coming weeks to months will probably be overland or through surreptitious means. And you will see some of them get out, and they will be in the media, and they will talk about horror stories on getting out. But I think the best opportunity for them to get out is now. Once the Taliban have full control over that country, you won't be able to get out, just like Iran. It will be impossible to get out. The General McKenzie said, well, we didn't destroy radar or firefighting equipment because we needed to have that airport functional so that other nations could still fly in, and like Turkey and whatnot, and get people out. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you should have just leveled it. I think you should have leveled it and then leveled Bagram. And I think you should have gotten every American out. That's how I would have handled it. And I would have left the city secured. If you had to set a deadline, you just should have said, no, we haven't got every American out. We're going to secure Kabul. We'll hold Kabul until we can get every American out, or at least have a reasonable assumption that every American or every Afghan that wants to get out can get out. Then when we leave, I would leave nothing but ash in our wake. And I would say, you rebuild it. It's your country. You won the war. Good. Enjoy it. Suck on it. Just like Reagan did with Beirut and Lebanon. All our facilities were destroyed by the New Jersey. That would be the result of them having... And those copters should have been shot down. Absolutely. I would have ordered the drones to do that now. Why are you allowing a Black Hawk helicopter to fly around hanging people from it? Shoot down. But of course, that would have what? Expanded the war. We would have ended up not leaving, right? And it would have put our soldiers at risk at Kabul. But now that you're out, why don't you level it? We certainly have the technology to just send a squadron of B-52s overnight. Wipe it out. Scrape it. There's no reason to allow Bagram to stand. None at all. Assuming that you want to leave the Karzai International so that Turkey and other Islamic-friendly countries could rebuild and bring commercial airlines in and get people out that way. Well, fine, but just why do you leave Bagram? Why allow that kind of military technology to be allowed to stand? You know that it'll be just used as a base of operation to hinder the people that are working in Afghanistan against the Taliban. Why would you allow it to stand? Maybe they're thinking that somebody will take it? The Pakistani revolutionaries? I don't know. So we'll I don't know. Not likely. It's not something I would count on. Like I said, the best chance will be in the next few weeks. But after that, forget it. They'll establish a frontier. They'll establish borders. They'll establish laws. You'll see Taliban issue currency, passports, all that other shit. And we'll start accepting them as we do these other nations. You know the nations that Trump said that will have a travel ban? There was a reason for that the nations like Iraq, Libya and stuff, you could not rely on them for the quality of the paperwork. And you're going to see people that are going to have this bogus paperwork coming out of the Taliban and coming into this United States probably in a couple of years. It will expand, and it will expand fast, like a cancer. Islamic extremism is the problem. It's not the Muslim religion. I hate that when people say, oh, these Muslims. No. It's Islamic fundamentalism. Afghanistan was a gorgeous country before Islamic fundamentalism. So was Iran. It has nothing to do with it. It's an extreme version of the religion. They go around and they enforce anti-individualistic, anti-American ideas on their people. They are the exact opposite of what America is, which is supposed to be focused on individual rights. Taliban don't believe in individual rights. Everything is Allah's. One of the reasons why they did not want Afghans getting out of Afghanistan was that many of the people fleeing Afghanistan, Afghans, were educated, well-positioned Afghanistans in the country. And they would be needed to run things because when you watch these films of the Taliban, they're not real sophisticated, okay? They're a third world country. And when you have educated people with college degrees and they know how to operate the equipment and how to run the water systems and how to run the electrical systems, all of those people are getting out. And they were worried, and probably justifiably, that if enough of them get out, we won't have an ability to build a nation. There was a news report, the Daily Caller put it out, and they had a couple of guys with guns on the head. I mean, literally, guns on the head of the newscaster saying, everybody needs to remain calm and stay in Afghanistan. These people mean you no harm. While the guy's got a gun on his head. That's the Taliban. I want to move on. I want to talk about the drone attacks as we wrap up today's show. We'll be right back.